Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again, this time to the Week 8 Intent to Injure Recap Podcast. Austin Revito and Eric Zaleski coming to you live on a snowy, rainy, disgusting,
blustery
Monday here.
A moist, blustery Monday.
In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have a guest joining us here in just a little bit. We won't give it away, but we will say he just ran up to his house to make a quote-unquote Sammy. So, I mean, you should be able to narrow it down right there. So another week of hockey here in the books. A pretty big week as far as point totals as I just look over the majority of the scores. So let's jump right into it. Let's do, for the first game of the week, let's do Madonna auto goal versus the newly named Edmonton Oilers. And now we've seen quite a few name changes this year in the Intent to Injure League. The newest name change coming from Colin Fawcett. I guess that's a reference to just not being a very good team, maybe tanking and hoping to get maybe a good draft position or something next year.
I guess.
I mean, he was 3-4 when he changed the name. Now he did not win this week. Madonna auto goal staying hot. Will win the week 137.1 to 107.9. Madonna auto goal. Now it's 7-1 overall. Just been running the tables, and a big week notably out of Yaroslav Halak. Maybe take this time to talk about the New York Islanders a little bit, who have just been coming on strong.
They may be the best team in the league right now.
I don't agree with that, but I mean, they've been strong. They've been solid.
Well, I mean, it's hard to get him to emotionally detach from the Penguins as it is to get me to emotionally detach from, like, the Packers.
Yeah, but that's not entirely true because I don't think the Pittsburgh Penguins are the best team in the NHL right now, but the New York Islanders cannot be the best team. Now they're up there. I mean, they're probably a top 10 team at the moment with the way that they're playing, but number one overall.
What's your barometer for measuring this? Is it points? Because if it is, then they are tied with the Penguins for the most points in the league.
In the league, I know they're tied in the division, but there's got to be a team above one of those two. I'm pretty sure the Predators are above them.
No, I think they all have 34 because I looked this morning and the Hawks have 31, so they're 2 wins out from being.
Taking a quick look at the standings. Okay, so there's like 15 teams with 34 points. Tampa Bay has 34, Montreal has 34, Pittsburgh has 34, the Islanders have 34, Nashville has 34, St. Louis has 34, and also Vancouver with 33, Anaheim with 33, and Detroit with 33. So that's half the league I just named. The Islanders, though, you know what? I mean, I brought them up to kind of pump them up a little bit, so I don't mean to bring them down. 8-2 in their last 10 games. They beat the Penguins in back-to-back games. They've been impressive, and Yaroslav Halak definitely a big part of that. That's one thing that they haven't had in a long time was a goalie, a competent goalie at least. And Halak getting the job done for them. Really, and we talk about the importance of John Tavares to that team, but really, this team's going to go as far as Halak takes them. If he can keep giving them steady goaltending, look out. They can be a dangerous team.
Could be like a Cam Ward taking Carolina in 06 sort of thing.
Right.
You have your Eric Stahl, you have your good players, but building from that goaltender out has helped that team a lot more recently. Sorry for the voice. Those screaming and something happened Saturday night. I don't know.
And we were up in Penn State.
I mean, who knows? And then yesterday during the Packer game, I scared the dog, and the dog rolled around, and it was all muddy, and it needed a bath.
Well, it rolled around in its own feces.
Right. Well, I didn't want to say that on the radio, but I did.
And we've said worse. So,
right.
I mean, I know that. I know you're all hot and bothered about it.
I was pissed. I was like vehemently pissed, but that's not here nor there. But I have no voice now. I had to call the girl last night to ask her to go on a date, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I said,
"She thinks she got like throat cancer or something."
Something, yeah. Probably not too far off, but oh well. So, anyways, moving to our next matchup, we'll do. We are a joke. This team sucks. Which is Brent Mansfield versus Todd Nuken, myself.
And another example of two teams here that didn't start with these names. We talked about your name last week, coming off a loss. That's something that you do in all fantasy leagues. After a loss, you change your name. So you're going to be sticking with Todd Nuken for another week here. A big win, 114.1 to 91.9. Let's take this time to talk about Brent Mansfield, who is basically completely packed it in. As far as this league goes, and I'm not sure, where he stands in the game of life right now either.
We haven't spoken with him.
Yeah, and I mean,
recently.
every time I talk to him, he's real down about this team. And if you guys saw up on the league homepage, now putting prices up in which you can purchase his players. So a questionable maneuver there by Brent. He fails to understand that there's 23 weeks in the league.
Right, you can come back.
You can make trades. You can get on the waiver wire. You can pick up guys. I mean, were you just gonna say top 5 teams make the playoffs?
No, I'm assuming it was top 6. So there's you can
You're
squeak
right,
in.
It might even be 6. So if you can even squeak into that 6th spot, and we do now, and we'll jump into this in our next matchup here. But there's a bunch of teams that only have there's a couple teams that only have 2 wins. So I mean, a lot of games left to be played here. Brent actually lost it as he was winning the week, which is questionable. I feel like if he would have kept the team morale up and not just put him down by throwing his players up for sale and talking them down, then maybe he would have won the week. But, I mean, as a player on We're a Joke, This Team Sucks, you can't be feeling too good about yourself.
Right. You're who wants to? Not that you wouldn't for the professionalism of it all, but who wants to perform for a man and GM or a head coach who switches their team name to "We Are a Joke, This Team Sucks"?
Yeah, I mean you can't feel good about that as a player for that squad. So
I agree.
Another loss here for Brent, who now drops down to 1-7, and you impressively now up to 7-1. I will make it a point though, because I know you're feeling good about yourself here. But as far as points for go, I think you're right in the middle of the pack, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
We'll actually jump over to that real quick because I'm just kind of curious. Not to put your team down because you have had a nice year, and you are above me in the standings. So, but if we take a look here at total points for, as I pull it up, let's see where you stand. So you're actually, there you are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're actually 6 out of 10 in points for. And I'm number 1. Look at that. Number 1 in points for, but unfortunately, this is a head-to-head league, so
it's the breaks.
That's how it goes. And
that is the way the cookie crumbles.
But yeah, you have had a nice draw as far as lineups go, or matchups go rather, as your third. You've led up the third least amount of points against.
Have the rest of the league combined made as many moves as I've made?
No. Oh no. Oh,
40.
No, I don't think so. So the total waiver wire transaction moves, you have Todd Newken with a commanding lead of 47 matchup acquisitions, and behind them at number 2 is Goodnight Jim Kite with 20.
I think half of those happened in one day, though. Remember when
he went bananas. That one day he texted me asking if it's 7 moves a day or if it's 7 a week.
You said a week, and I wasn't his response shit. He just said oh shit.
Yeah, he had some bigger plans for that week. Nonetheless, nice to see the Goodnight Jim Kite is up and making some moves though. Nonetheless, because that's a team
they won.
Yeah, and let's jump to that matchup now.
Yeah, good segue.
So
professionals.
They
boss just rang the doorbell, I think.
Okay, well that's our guest.
Sorry for ruining that, but
do you want to go out and just pull him in maybe?
I really don't. I want him to figure out how to get in.
This is good for him.
Garage.
Yeah, well, and boss needs to do a little, I don't know if you call it kind of deductive reasoning, or he's got to figure this out on his own.
Yes, that was very he needs to deduce the fact that we're doing this now and we're not just going to answer the door.
And we left the garage door wide open.
It's actually freezing in here right now. I'm complaining of cold. That's a first.
So jumping over to Goodnight Jim Kite now, and they made a trade last week, and it's nice to see them get rewarded as boss calls me. I will pick this up now.
Tell him to come to the garage.
Jacob, come around through the garage, brother. We're in the middle of the podcast. Bye.
Quote, got it. I heard that.
So Goodnight Jim Kite beats the man out. The final score in this one, 114.2 to 65.5. I see you pulled up the totals here for the week. I'm curious to see how their newly acquired players did out of Nick Foligno and
solid,
Mikey Ribeiro.
Nick Foligno averaging a solid 0.9 of a point this past week per game. And who was the other one?
Mikey Ribeiro.
Averaging who averaged actually a classic negative 0.3 of a
All right,
point
so
per
the trade for this week didn't seem to work out for him.
It's a rape.
They've called off, they've cooled off a little bit, but in the same token, just a little bit of, change of pace in the locker room. You mix things up, and next thing you know, you get a big win here. They almost doubled up the odd man out, who was struggling. Now that both teams are 2-6 now, but the odd man out, a team that, and we say it, I feel like every week in the podcast, a team that we had a lot of faith in coming into the season. We were high on them in the preseason, and just hasn't gotten the job done. So a guy that you would think, and I think I saw him at the bottom of the match, or at the acquisition moves. I think he's got 5 on the year, so it would be nice to see him move some things around, making sure he's got a good lineup going each and every day, because this is a team that is now slowly but surely sinking towards the bottom of the standings, and needs to scratch and claw his way up the charts.
Yeah, like a cinder block in the ocean.
So, but a big win there for Goodnight Jim Kite. Nice to see them get on the back in the win column. As I mentioned, both teams at 2-6.
I'm still vehemently pissed at Goodnight Jim Kite because I gave them such a great deal for McKinnon, and then they just bent over in a text message for you. I had a great deal. These assholes just rolled with them. You would have had. I'm just saying. I'm not saying the players that I offered because I'm not training them now. But
that's fine. I mean, my question to you is: do you have Talon's number? Did I get that over to you?
Because no, we were doing it. How did we do it? No, I was doing it through. Doing it through. By the way, I didn't know. You never saw. I snagged that off Todd's Twitter.
That's great.
I'm actually. Oh, that may be my new. That should be my new name if I lose. It's like Todd Canuck. T. Canuck or something.
Yeah,
Canocchia is his last name.
Like that, yeah.
This guy, like, he favorites retweets from like Rihanna and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. It's really odd. Really odd, man.
And was tweeting at Universal Studios at one point as well.
He wanted like a free trip or something.
Yeah.
The tweets of Todd Newcanner, they're amazing. But digressing, so do we bring on the guest here, or do we finish
let's finish one more matchup before we bring in our next guest, and that was the Jonathan Quickies versus Talkins Book Service. This was the highest scoring matchup of the week. Talkins Book Service with the week high. The final score in this one, 162.7 to 146.3 for Sam Mendelson. A big week out of Henrik Zetterberg. Old reliable. 20.3 points in the week, and for Talkins Book Service, Evgeny Malkin getting the job done, 21.8. So Talkins Book Service starting to heat up, and I warned you about this, and here they come. So they now have won a couple in a row. They're up to 5-3, currently leading the league in points. I think this is going to be a team to be reckoned with coming down the stretch here. Mendelson, however, with the loss, drops down to 5-3, but he's still up there in the standings. But let's jump into our final matchup at this point in time. We'll welcome in our guest. He actually squeaked out a big win on the final day, made a couple matchup acquisitions on his way back from Penn State to get some guys in the lineup. He pulls out the win over the Real Deal Neils. The final score in this one, 128.4 to 123.4. At this time, we would now like to welcome in the owner of Blake Wheeler, Mr. Jacob Boss. Jacob.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Scoot over a little bit.
I get the screen here.
Bad boy.
Appreciate you having me on the show today. Huh?
Well, Jacob, it's nice to have you back in town, obviously, brother. It's been a while since we've seen you. You hide out there in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
God knows what you're up to out there. You do say that you are a frequent listener/watcher of the podcast.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Absolutely. Every time I walk into class or from class or in the car, always got to throw a little Eric and Austin on.
And we say that. It's always kind of a nice way to kill time if you're walking or if you're driving somewhere. You don't necessarily need to see us. You probably don't want to see us.
That is true.
So it's nice just to kind of listen, kill some time. And I know you listened to your last one driving back from Kentucky.
Killed an hour right there. That's an hour right. That's an hour. That's a solid 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. And that's what we do it for at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate you listening along and being a part of this great fantasy hockey league. So for you, let's now dissect your team a little bit here. A big win this week over the Real Deal Neils. You're now up to 5-3, so you're tied with me and Mendelson as far as the record goes for the standings.
I don't know what I'm doing here.
So what you just did is you clicked into your players from this week. So that's just kind of
that's your
lineup for this week.
Okay.
I will say as far as the Real Deal Neil is your opponent for the week, James Neal, radio silence. He's cooled off just as I expected. Just not a good player. Now that I said that, he's going to score like 5 goals this week.
What's the count to? I know you guys had that bet.
Yep. So the bet is over under 29. And he currently has 9 goals, so I believe still on pace to hit that. But it's been a couple of weeks now since he scored, so things are starting to kind of even out here.
My team's about to get tagged, so
See, and I disagree with you because I think Pecorine is all world, and I think and they got Shea Weber. They're back on defense. I think they're just solid defensively. I think that's the key to success.
They're gonna have to start scoring though.
Yeah, I mean
if you can hold
they've
their
been
best-
scoring. Can they keep it up? Is the question.
I mean, like if your Fleet Forsberg's going to be your best player, you're going nowhere fast after the All-Star break. So,
I mean, I definitely think that it's going to be hard for them to maintain the level of success that they've had early in the season. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, that's definitely a playoff team, no questions asked.
no, that's my bold prediction list today. No, December 1st, 3:32 p.m.
No playoffs?
Nashville doesn't make the playoffs.
Okay, I know we will.
You can stick a bookmark on this if you want.
I mean, I will certainly be sure to bring that up in future podcasts.
There's just a certain their goal differential is absurd. Like it's like their PDO is like way too good to be true. Like it's like I don't know. It's like me scoring 3 games in a row in adult league and people being like, "Oh, he does average a goal a game." No, the fuck he doesn't. It took him 4 seasons to score 3 goals. They just happen to be in consecutive weeks. That's like literally where the Predators are right now in the first 25 games of the season.
At the same time, though, I think that the coaching change might have done did them well there. Nothing against Barry Trotz, who I think is actually a pretty good coach.
Schwartzy boo.
But I think they just need a kind of a change of scenery in the locker room.
Oh, they did. Yeah,
And,
he's the only coach they ever had.
agree to disagree on that. I think that they make the playoffs. Well, I do agree that it's going to be hard for them to maintain this pace.
Yeah, they're on a tear.
But we kind of got off topic a little bit. Let's jump back to Blake Wheeler's squad. First and foremost, Jake, your initial team name is Scratch My Back Barkov.
Mm-hmm. Not sure what he's doing. He may be in the minor leagues currently right now.
Now, let me ask, as you went about naming your team, did you expect to have Barkov on the roster for the majority of the season? Or was that just kind of like it was a name you couldn't pass up?
It was a name I couldn't pass up.
Absolutely. It was a heck of a name. It was a good homage to like
you guys
Mike
started,
Lang.
You guys started off a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, it was good.
I definitely started that, and then the first I think it was week or 2. He actually did pretty well. I think the first week he was probably one of the top 4 scorers.
And this is a Florida Panthers player, correct?
Yes, okay. It is.
Just to confirm.
And then after that, everything went completely south.
It went haywire a little bit.
Yep, it went haywire, and he's probably averaged like a goal every like 4 weeks. So I said goodbye to little Barkov and picked up 3 other options, and ever since then, I don't think I've lost. I don't think I've lost on the name Blake Wheeler.
We might have to go back and research that, but you started off hot, and then I know you had a loss in week 2, and I think
I dropped 2 more after that.
Yeah, so you've been heating up as of late. What do you attribute some of that success to? As you look up and down your lineup here, Corey Perry, obviously a guy that you drafted in the first round, he's a stud. But how about some of these depth guys going through? Who's been big for you? Eric Carlson, obviously another guy you drafted early who's lived up to the hype.
Some of the strategy behind Blake Wheeler is the defensive core. Looking at my lineup, I have Carlson, I have Shea Weber, which was my leading scorer, I believe, last week, if you guys remember.
It's crazy that he's starting to score. See, now I'm contradicting myself a bit, but him scoring, he used to never score. He was like a 6 goal a year guy, and he ran the power play, but he would score like 6 power play goals a year, and that was it because he has that bomb. And now that he's actually scoring, I think Laviolette, like you said, may have opened it up a little bit. Although Laviolette coaching defense has a lot to be desired, but that's why you have that other coach do it. But he's right. Little Shea Weber action, coming on
11.8 points this week.
And that's the guy that could be up for the Norris, I think, especially at this pace.
It sucks he'll never win one because he came in with all these great defensemen. It's a bummer he's never won one.
Yeah, but I think he could be up at least as a nominee this year.
Oh yeah,
especially at this.
I feel like he almost is every year.
Impressive.
I mean, last year was him. What's his face? Him, Chara, and Subban, and they always give it to Chara. Like if I would Chara wins trophies just based on his genetic propensity.
You're right.
Like if I was that tall, I could be good at any sport. Like you could
right.
put on shoes and dunk a basketball.
If Chara was like 6'2" or 6'3", he wouldn't.
He's a
nobody would even know who he is. Probably.
Yeah,
he
might not be in the NHL. Honestly,
best case scenario, he's a middling jockey.
But what else up and down your lineup here? Who are your goalies?
I've had 3 solid goalies: Bishop, Niemi, and then Holtby.
And you also have Cameron.
Fired up the Cam Talbot.
Your boy Cameron Talbot.
I think it's the second time I have picked him up for a single game, and he has gotten me a shutout both times.
Wow, that's very impressive. That's a review.
I could be wrong. I know I got someone last week that got me a shutout, but I don't know if it was Cam. But I picked this guy up for one game this week and got me a shutout.
And that
10
actually
points, 6 points.
And it ends up being the difference for you and basically winning you the week.
Absolutely.
As,
and
There's
a
Big
co-owner of Goodnight Jim Kite, who
Gave-
we've had
who
radio
literally,
silence
this
on.
is he came in the door, and this is all two of us saw, and then he was gone. It was a little piece. He was gone.
And he does
He's
not
been
like
out.
he does
He's
not
out.
he does not like the camera. He has actually agreed to do podcasts in the past with me, and then he dips out right before we start.
I mean, that was
so.
amazing. It was like gone up the stairs.
I
And,
haven't seen him in about 8 months.
Not
Yeah,
even a
I,
hi.
I get a little 2 fingers
Yeah, I
and
mean, a nice
he's out of
hi.
here.
How you doing?
Yeah.
What's new?
Not even
I mean-
like a grunt. Not even like a ugh.
And
It was just two.
another note about Ben, basically last night agreed to come to the gym with us at 2.
Oh, that's true.
And you called him, you're texting him, just radio silence from the end of Ben, and that's something we've kind of become accustomed to. But there he is. I mean, he lives in his own world. Talon, if you're out there, buddy, we appreciate you keeping an eye on Ben, because God knows where he'd be without you. And another note, I don't think we talked about it in the last podcast, but we did get some updates regarding Talon Stroman's back spasms.
Yeah, so I wish we had Ben for the story down here. But he took off. Who knows? But he's probably making some PB Sammys up there. Yeah, so we receive a text. I don't really know where I was, but reading it, I think I was over at like Dave Brown's or something, and reading it, it was odd because he said like Talon was in the library doing work, and I guess turned to look at someone and then had a crippling back spasm, which like left him like incapacitated. And then he wanted to try some herbs or something.
Yeah,
like herbal.
he was
Not
looking,
weed,
he was
like
looking-
literally like pills.
Yeah, he was looking for some all natural herbal supplement, kind of in order to fix this problem, which isn't going to happen.
Right.
I don't think those things do anything. Talon, though, buddy,
If you're out there.
yeah, get well soon. We hope everything's good with the back.
Well, that's the scary thing with Ben is you don't know if he's like being serious or not. So like halfway through this text message string, like we're all like making fun of like what's going on, and then halfway through I was like, but wait, is he like seriously
is he okay?
injured? Yeah, like
are you all right?
yeah, like the actual like is there an actual like health issue here that he needs to go to the emergency
Yeah,
room
because
for?
Ben has a hard time of kind of relaying the severity of what's actually going on. Like as you said, you don't know if he's joking or if Talon's like actually laying on the floor like
in contracture, like dead. Not
Yeah.
dead, but not unable to move. And so at that point, I was like, well, you can't just give him like, I don't know, like what they give out anymore, like berries or whatever. Then they put in these pills to try to like make your back go away. So Talon, if you're out there, we hope you're still firing on all cylinders.
Side note, your voice sounds 1,000 times better than it did yesterday.
yeah. And
I didn't even notice it today.
It wasn't. Yeah, it's still not great, but yeah,
He actually already apologized for it at the beginning of the podcast.
Oh,
It
it's
did
fine.
sound. You're right
It's
though.
fine.
It did sound about 10 times worse yesterday.
trying to get you like clean up that house, like the dungeon that you slept in. Boss is in another house.
Yeah, I mean, for me anyway, it had to be rock bottom. In what I call the animal house up at Penn State, I slept in what you kind of compared it to as a crack den, and I think that's actually being generous.
Yeah, it made some crack.
It was
dens look
disgusting.
nice.
I mean, and then like, how about Rod?
No, you said you slept with a raccoon.
I did. I may or may not have curled up a little raccoon. I mean, just keep me warm. I was looking for
I was
warmth.
gonna say you were okay with
My
that.
feet are still numb, actually. And then Rod graced me with like the detail like of almost gagging when he heard I slept on that. Just thinking about some of the instances that had occurred on that mattress. So that was comforting. That was a comforting little goodbye from Rod.
There's a difference between like, oh, you're talking to some like, I don't know, Rich Peters girl, and you say like, oh, I slept on a mattress in the basement. Like, oh god. But then when Rod Kern gives you like a look of like,
I mean, he winced.
He winced. It looked like he
Kinda
had to like
gagged.
swallow some like I don't know what was in his mouth. Like and I think his quote was like, I don't think you have any idea how disgusting that is.
Yeah, and that's it for me. That's the final trip up there. It was a long night.
Lots of things happen. There was an incident in a cheesesteak place, Rod. There was a lot that happened. There was just a lot.
There was.
24 hours span.
And real quick here, before we wrap it up, we always like to throw a little touch of Penguins hockey in here. Quite a few injuries for the Pens over this past week. Of course, Bo Bennett is hurt again. What else is new? It's almost more of a story when he's in the lineup.
Right.
Like, oh, Bo Bennett's playing tonight. What a pleasant surprise. He can't last more than 5 games. Not a long-term solution for the Pens at this point. Marcel Gotch is hurt. Letang's now day-to-day with little injury. I don't know if you got the update there. But
Rossi said that it's just like he said it was a it's not even, they're not even concerned. They're not reporting on it because they're not concerned.
That's good because that has some fantasy implications for my team. But you personally were appalled by the lines that were released this morning.
Oh, those third and fourth lines. Woof.
The likes of Craig Adams.
Why
now?
is Craig Adams getting promoted up to the third line and Magna's on the fourth? This is getting.
That's
I think they just do it to just mess with them.
Well, part of it's like the old fantasy football thing where you see these coaches take out, for example, the Philadelphia Eagles. They won't use McCoy in the red zone. They'll bring in Chris Polk, and it's just know that they're targeting fantasy owners out there.
I didn't know he had a first name. But we knew.
Yeah.
I've
heard it enough this year, so I know it.
Polk.
What I would like to know is where is Como after the hat trick performance on Wednesday?
Oh, you didn't see it?
Was it Wednesday?
Yeah, it was Wednesday.
We all went to the game
night before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
He was unbelievably denied on Friday, and I think he went to the toilet after that.
Yeah, well, let me ask. As far as he goes, does he have any fantasy value at this point? He's playing with either Crosby or Malkin, nightly for the foreseeable future. You got to give him a little bit of love.
You have to give him a look.
And I'm not a real big Blake the Snake guy, to be honest.
Yeah, you were not happy with.
I'll take anybody on Crosby or Malkin's line, basically.
See, I think the best Pens player right now for fantasy that isn't already on someone's team is Sutsy.
And that's true, and I know Fawcett actually had him at one point this season and dropped him, so he is back on waivers.
See, the thing is, though, on ours, we really simplified our scoring, so, if we included face-off wins, penalty minutes, Sutsy just goes through the roof.
Yeah,
so does any center would. But
although, you know what, I think we might see this year in the near future, especially with the current injuries that they're having, is you might see Sutter get moved up to the second line.
I was going to say, and then
maybe
put
play it as a
Malkin
winger, or maybe you play Sutter as the center and put Malkin as a wing. That's probably the more likely
I'm
scenario.
surprised they haven't done that yet, because if you're going to put this wingers out for Sutter, at least just move him up and just accept the fact that your third and fourth lines will not score a goal.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I honestly think that you could get on that fourth line and just blend in enough to the point where you wouldn't be that noticed. Greg Sill or Zach Sill. I'll call him Greg. I don't even give a shit. I keep calling him Greg Sill because there's a fucking NFL player that used to have the name Greg Sill. And It's not the guy from the Bengals. No, I'm not thinking of the wrong guy whose daughter has a cancer. There used to be a guy who was named Greg Sill and whatever. But Zach Sill's offensive prowess is about the equivalent of Rod hitting on a girl at the bar. It's like if you have the going for the puck, there's nothing subtle about it.
No.
And it's just pathetic.
It's bad. I think Bortzi also relays some similar
but at least he's
features with the puck.
Put 2 of them in the net.
He has, and I don't think Zach Sill is capable of scoring a goal. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I would say Sill has 10 breakaways from the blue line in. How many pucks are in the net against a Fleury? How many? Zero.
I think we're all put in the same category as Zach Sill. 0.
Right. Yeah.
0. And that's it. All right.
He could run him because that's what he usually does. Just run him over
that'd
and
probably be his best.
Carry the puck into the net.
His best chance to score a goal would just go head on, try to take his legs out, and get the puck in before the net moves off the moorings. That's probably the best way to go about it.
We'll call that the Sill from now on.
That's fine. I'm actually going to do that to Brent next pickup. And he might not actually watch this now because he's packed it in for the league. Yeah. So that's an advantage to us because that's the first thing I'm doing on our shootout at the next pickup. We got to be real quick here. So here's the updated standings. Number 1 overall, Todd Newken at 7-1, Madonna Autogol 7-1, Talkins Book Service 5-3, Jonathan Quickie's 5-3, Blake Wheeler 5-3. Then we get a little drop off here with the Real Deal Neals 3-5, Edmonton Oilers 3-5, Goodnight Jim Kite 2-6, the Odd Man Out 2-6, and rounding out to the 10-team league. We're a joke. This team sucks 1-7. So there's that. And also, here are the matchups for week number 9. Talkins Book Service versus the Odd Man Out. Todd Newken versus the Jonathan Quickies. Real Deal Neals versus Goodnight Jim Kite. Madonna Autogol 95 versus We're a Joke. This team sucks. And
that
the Edmonton Oilers versus Blake Wheeler.
We're a Joke. This team sucks. That's a great... There's nothing quite like it.
And before we go, let's do the podcast pick'em. Looks like no, I take that back. There are games tonight in the NHL. So you and I have been doing it. Let's do our picks, and we'll also let Jake, who is
the guest picker.
Refresh me the rules real quick. It's got to be underdog. Right?
Yeah. You got to take an underdog.
Okay.
You are known as a professional in this business, so we'll let you actually go ahead and pick the
That's
first.
what we'll do from now on, since neither of us are blowing anyone out. The guest picker will just have their own running tab.
Yeah, and we'll see if the guests
And
can
the guests
beat us,
can outdo the
and
people.
which they probably will.
It's highly true.
Jacob, with the first overall pick of tonight's games, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on tap. The rules is you just got to take an underdog here. It looks like there's a lot of tight ones tonight.
There's very tight ones. The one that pops out to me is anytime Boston is on an underdog, you just got to roll with it.
And they're at Anaheim tonight. Tough matchup, but
that's very tough.
I tend to agree with you.
That's one that definitely stands out. That or Tampa Bay versus Rangers.
At New York, yeah. Which one are you going with?
I think I'm gonna hit up. Since I got Ben Bishop, I'm going Tampa Bay.
Okay, that's cool. And I believe you went first last week, if I'm not mistaken. Do you recall?
Probably. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think so. We both sucked anyways. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've lost. I've won one this year, so I'll take the Boston Bruins. Who are going to be about plus 105, or what's my math here?
105.
Yeah, plus 105 at Anaheim.
I will be taking the Cats at Columbus. I'm hoping for a jinx or I'm hoping for a win. I don't care. But
and your boy Al Montoya in the net.
Yeah.
Your boy. So there it is, folks. So you got
any
the
other
Panthers.
shit goalies today? Yes, Calvin Pickard.
Ooh, that's terrible. Going to net for Colorado, hosting the Habs.
Yeah, I might go pick him up.
So you got the Panthers. Jacob, you have the Lightning,
Yep.
and I have the Boston Bruins. So that does it for the
Absolutely.
podcast pick-up. That does it for the podcast overall. Thank you guys for joining us for the Week 8 recap. Best of luck to everybody in week number 9. And we will see you next time here on the Intent to Injure podcast. Hilarious.
No,
All right.
unfortunately, no after show today. That was actually the best part of the last one. Was the end.
Well,
I didn't even think about when you were like, "Don't close it." I was like, "Why?" I was like, "I'm hungry. I want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings," and then you were like, "No, that's not the point."
you gotta have the